Hello YouTube and welcome to another episode of At Halftime here at 3 PM. This is an episode which is a bit different to everything I've done so far on the channel. This is a Football Manager experiment, and what I have done is I have taken over a random Premier League team and I have filled them with Championship players. Let's see how they get on. So welcome to Crystal Palace. What happened was that I picked a random number from 1 to 20 with the help of a random number generator, and it selected for me number 6. So going down to the 6th side in the alphabetical list of Premier League sides, you come up with, yes that's right, Crystal Palace. And actually they are the perfect side for an experiment like this because Crystal Palace are a side that are very much firmly mid-table. So if this team does very well, it's got to be about the players. So that's actually a really good selection for this particular exercise. So what I've done is I have gone into the editor, I have removed every player that Crystal Palace currently have, and I have selected 25 players from the Championship. And I'm going to holiday forward a year to the end of the season and see just how well they have done. But before we do that, let's have a look through the players. So I've picked 3 Championship goalies. Tim Krul from Norwich, who I think would probably be the first choice if you look at his statistics. Having said that, Ben Foster, looking at him you think he's not a bad keeper himself, and looking at the comparison charts you see Ben Foster actually beats Tim Krul very narrowly. But with Ben Foster being 37, I'd expect his statistics to basically drop off as the season goes along, and it may very well that Tim Krul is the man that steps in and picks up the slack. David Raya, he's the young, different choice, and whilst his statistics are not quite to the same level as Foster and Krul, he's a player that I think would progress, and if this game were to be played for 6 or 7 seasons, I think you'd end up seeing David Raya assume the number 1 spot fairly quickly. In defence, there had to be only one choice at right back, that is Norwich's Max Aarons. Max is better than the vast majority of Premier League right backs, let alone Championship right backs, and he comes in as the obvious first choice right back. Challenging him though is a player who's no slouch in his own right, Connor Roberts of Swansea. Welsh international, great statistics in terms of physicals and mentals. He just lacks in comparison to Max Aaron's technicals, and I do think we have the top 2 right backs in the Championship in this squad. Left back was quite a difficult proposition to pick, mostly because I could have gone for somebody like, for example, Bournemouth's Diego Rico, but he's a player who I felt was not necessarily the best choice to go for from Bournemouth, and I felt he was too attack-minded and not enough defensive-minded. So with that in mind, I've picked 2 left backs. The first is Blackburn's Greg Cunningham. He is a decent all-round left back who has decent technicals, decent mentals and decent physicals, and you can see by the coach summary showing his current and potential ability of 3 stars that he can compete in the Premier League if he needs to. Also at left back is Christian Pedersen from Birmingham City, and Christian is a player I've often looked at, so he was somebody that I had in the back of my mind when I was thinking about this as somebody that I might choose, because he is another good all-round left back, and he has some good statistics in terms of his mentals and his physicals gain. Good determination, good work rate, good stamina, good strength, and good technicals to allow me to think that this is a player that is not going to let me down if I need to rely on him. In the centre of defence, we have 4 players who I think are good selections actually. First choice has got to be Steve Cook, hasn't he? I mean, look at his statistics. He is the leader in the side with a leadership of 16. He has good physicals, he has good technicals, and he can play his way out of the penalty box if we need him to. He is a very, very good player at this level. Probably partnering him is Brentford's Pontus Jansson. Pontus is a player who I think even now shouldn't be playing in the Championship. He should be a Premier League player, but but he's just not had that opportunity yet. But with the determination of 17, with his mentals as they are, with his physicals as they are, and with his technicals showing a decent tackling, marking and heading, he's an obvious choice again. I think he probably is the second best centre half. Backing him up are two really interesting choices. The first being formerly of Oxford United but now of QPR, Rob Dickie. Dickie joined QPR only this summer, but if you look at him, he already has statistics that shows he is potentially capable of playing at a higher level. 3.5 star being his maximum potential. So he might be somebody worth looking at as a potential third or fourth choice. He's a good all-round young centre half, especially given that he's English. And finally, Jake Cooper. Rule out Jake Cooper at your peril, because look at this guy. He is a set piece monster. Jumping 19, strength 16, heading 16. He has everything needed to get into that penalty box and to score set piece headers. And I really do think if you put him in, I don't think he'd let you down defensively either. It's not just as an offensive machine that you need to give him a go. His downside, what lets him down, undeniably a work rate of 10. If he had a work rate that was just a little bit higher, I think I'd be picking this guy up for the Premier League. I really do. So we now go into the defensive midfield position. You see I've got a plethora of choices here. So Wayne Rooney is the first choice. And you just have to look at his statistics to see why. He is a very good player still, even at 34. 3.5 star ability, 3.5 star potential. He's on 50k a week, but he's worth that 50k a week. He's got everything that is needed in order to still be a force to be reckoned with. And I think actually, rather than playing him in defensive midfield, I'd be tempted, if I were managing this side, to push him a bit further forward, play him as a deep lying playmaker in that central midfield position. But next to him, I'd definitely be picking Jefferson Lerma. Jefferson Lerma, look at him. He is a very, very good player. Tireless midfielder with a stamina of 16, a work rate of 16, tackling of 16. You can guarantee he's going to be that central midfield engine that picks the ball up, drives it forward at the heart of the opposition defence and really makes things happen. And he will go next to Wayne Rooney if I were playing this side as a box-to-box midfielder. So who would it be that I would have sitting in front of that back four? Well, I don't think you can look very much further than Lewis Cook. He has 14 tackling, he has 13 strength, he has 14 stamina, and I think Lewis Cook is the guy to mop up things in front of the defence and pass the ball out to Wayne Rooney, who could in turn set up attacks. But you've got Matt Grimes there as well, and he can play in either central or defensive midfield. And I think he would probably be the player that I would use to replace Wayne Rooney. We also have some alternatives for central midfield and pushing further forward as well. We've got Joe Rawls of Cardiff. He is another very good all-round player, and I think he could offer something a little bit different from central midfield when I needed to. I would play him possibly as a Mazzala, but he's there also to take over from Jefferson Lerma if he ever suffers an injury. And then in attacking midfield, Reading's John Swift. He has got some wonderful statistics in Football Manager, showing that he is an effective and capable attacking midfielder and a very positive creative influence. So he comes into the squad to do just that. Now looking forward, we've got a few players that can play in multiple positions across that attacking midfield three. Of course, the best player in the Championship has got to be there, and that is Emi Buendia. Again, full disclosure, hands up, I am a Norwich City fan. Emi Buendia is God to us in Norwich, and he is no different in Football Manager. He is sensational. Flair of 18, technique of 16, dribbling of 17, first touch 15, crossing 15. I mean, if there are many better players in the Premier League, let alone the Championship, then I'm yet to see them. He is good enough to be a top 6 player, and he will probably be the first name on the team sheet if I were managing this side. But there are some good alternatives at right wing. Jed Wallace, of Millwall, he joins Jake Cooper in the side as the Millwall contingent. He has great free kick taking, great penalty taking, so he's somebody that I could rely on to do consistently well with set pieces. He's a very, very good player and somebody who I picked quite quickly to come into the side. And then you have on the other side of the attacking midfield, you have players like Joe Lolly. He can play left or right very effectively. He's somebody who I think will go on to do very well in the Premier League, so it'll be interesting to see just how well he does when we get the year done. And Brentford's Brian Mbeumo. He is a young player, 20 years of age, who has all the attributes and can play not just across the attacking midfield but up front as well. He's a very good, versatile player who I felt deserved a place in this team. The other attacking midfielder, Ismail Assar from Watford. But if you look at him, age just 22, already 3.5 star ability, 4-star total potential. He's got everything to be the Emi Buendia of the left-hand side. Tricky, capable, quick, very, very good all-round player. So that gives a wealth of options across that attacking midfield. And up front is no different. I've picked 2 strikers because we do have Brian Mbeumo who can play as a third choice if we need to. And also Wayne Rooney. We can't forget he is a striker by trade. So there is plenty of option up front as well. But I think few are going to be able to dislodge the star striker Adam Armstrong. This guy is the hot property of the Championship in this Football Manager. I have already seen Adam Armstrong absolutely tearing it up for Blackburn in the Championship, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he gets on at that higher level. I think with Buendia and Sarr being effectively the players lining up the ammunition for him, he could do very, very well indeed, and he'd be my first choice by some considerable distance. Although his understudy isn't that bad either. Ivan Toney, he's just joined Brentford in the Championship, but we're going to skip him head of division already and see how he gets on. It may very well be he absolutely does nothing. It may very well be he does fantastically well, and as a result shows his Premier League credentials. So here you have it. This would be the 11 if I were picking it. It would be Tim Krul in goal, Aarons on the right, Cunningham on the left, Steve Cook and Pontus Jansson through the middle, Lewis Cook, deep lying playmaker, and then Rooney and Lerma through the middle of midfield, and then a front three of Buendia on the right, Sarr on the left, and Adam Armstrong up front. And I have fairly high confidence levels in this team, in order to be able to say I think we're probably looking at a mid-table finish. That's what I'm going to predict. However, these are Championship players. It would not be a surprise to me to see this team languishing near the bottom of the Premier League. There will certainly be sides that will steamroller over them, and there will certainly be sides I think that they will pull off upsets against. Let's jump ahead now. We're going to go to the 1st of June of this year to make sure that we clear all of the games and have a look and see how they get on. Whilst the game is progressing through to the 1st of June next year, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to people who have already watched my videos, and to ask, if you are watching this and you do like what you see, please do like, please do subscribe. As a new channel, it helps me immensely, and if you've got any comments that you want to make, please do leave them below. I will try to respond to every comment that is left, and make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. There is no better place to find out what I'm doing, what's coming up soon on the channel, than on Twitter. So here we are now on the 1st of June 2021. It is exactly midnight. We have holiday through to today to see just how well the Crystal Palace side, filled with Championship players, have done. I don't know how they've done. This could be the worst experiment of all time. They could be rock bottom, having scored 0 points. I just don't know. So, they're not bottom. West Brom are bottom. Then you've got Fulham, Brighton, Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Leeds, Burnley. Wow, they've done better than I thought. Southampton, Everton, Leicester, Newcastle. 8th place. Oh my God. 8th place. I would not have said that they would be in 8th place. That is beyond my wildest expectations. And looking at it, actually, they're joint with Wolves for 7th place. I mean, if they'd have actually gotten one more point and somebody else would have gotten Burnley won the League Cup. So if anybody, Burnley had won the League Cup, potentially Crystal Palace could be a Europa League side if if a little bit of luck had just gone their way. I mean, that's amazing. That's beyond my wildest expectations. Shall we have a look at the team? Right. Wayne Rooney is the captain. Steve Cook is the vice captain. Key player Emiliano Buendia. You can see from this, you can see that not too many players have done well over the course of the season, but they've all done well enough to justify an 8th place finish. So, the team selected for the last game appears to be a 4-4-2. David Raya is the main goalkeeper. He started 34 games with 2 substitute appearances. A 6.83 rating overall. That surprises me. I would have thought that one of the other two would have definitely been the first choice. Defence is pretty much as expected. Max Aaron's on the right, Cunningham through the centre, and it looks like the 4 of them are pretty much the regular first choice, with the exception of Greg Cunningham, who started 23 times. Let's see if... Pedersen had 16 starts. So I wonder if there's a player that played a few other times at left back rather than somewhere else. Be interesting to see who that would be. I'll have a look through the statistics a little later on. But the central defensive partnership of Steve Cook and Jake Cooper, who actually got quite a number of assists between the two of them. 9 assists for the central defensive partnership, so that's pretty good. In midfield, you got on the right Emi Buendia, 4 goals, 12 assists and a 7.25 rating. He is the second highest rating after Joe Lolly, who is actually out on loan, so I don't think he counts. So the highest of the players at the club is Emi Buendia. Midfield 2 of Jefferson Lerma and Matt Grimes. That surprises me. Wayne Rooney not in the side altogether, albeit he is injured for some time. He has already suffered, it seems, a little bit of an injury, which treatment with a specialist, so it looks like he's probably been out of action for some time. And you can see he did play 17 times before falling out of action, so perhaps Wayne Rooney did start there but perhaps didn't end there due to the injuries only. And on the left, Ismail Assar, 40 appearances, 4 goals, 4 assists. And up front, Ivan Toney and Adam Armstrong, both of whom score fairly regularly. Ivan Toney starting from the bench more often than not, scoring 8 goals. And my, look at Adam Armstrong. 44 appearances, 19 goals, 5 assists, a 6.95 rating. He has been an absolute revelation, hasn't he? What a player he is. Someone really to pick up as quickly as you can if you come up into the Premier League, and he's still available, and it's now worth £33.5 million for this Crystal Palace side. Another person I've just noticed, Brian Mbeumo, 14 goals, 10 assists. I mean, after Emi Buendia, he has the most assists in the side by far, and the second most goals by far. So if I'm quite honest with you, considering he's only played 28 times to start and 15 times from the bench, I'd say Brian Mbeumo is probably the MVP, even above Emi Buendia. Looking down, we've got some players here who haven't perhaps featured as much as I'd have thought they would. John Swift barely registered a single game. Tim Krul only played 5 times. Rob Dickey played 4 times. Joe Lolly just the 7 times and went out on loan to Hanover. But you have a bench that's picked here of Ben Foster, Pontus Jansson, Joe Rules, Mbeumo, Jed Wallace, Connor Roberts and Tom Lawrence. There you have it. I mean, that's a very interesting outcome, isn't it? I mean, 8th place with 54 points. And you look at the goals from the division as a whole, and you see Chris Wood's topping the league with 20 goals for Burnley. And where is our Adam Armstrong? He is tied for 6th place along with Mohamed Salah and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So that's not bad company for a championship striker, 24 years of age to be, is it? I mean, only beaten by Ollie Watkins, Raul Jimenez, Danny Ings, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Chris Wood, who's done very well, hasn't he, considering? Assists-wise, Emi Buendia is joint 4th for assists in the league, alongside Thiago, James Ward-Prowse. So there you have it, a team of championship players taken over Crystal Palace, managed to finish in 8th place. Who would have expected that? Certainly not me. Thank you for joining me. Please do like and subscribe if you like this and follow all of that YouTube stuff. Until next time, this is at 3 PM. Take care.